Welcome to the Manville Entertainment premises, the podcasting wing. Welcome to Let's Talk, a show here on the Authority Videocast YouTube channel. That's right. Today we are talking about, well, honestly, you guys, there's been so many no-hitters, right? So many no-hitters. And it's so frustrating that no one can hit the baseball anymore that I wanted to go back and I wanted to just look at someone, really actually one of the greatest modern hitters in all of baseball. I mean, this guy is criminally underrated. And so while we're watching guys who are probably a bit overrated at this point struggle to hit the ball, because my friend Jacob will tell you that no matter what, today's athlete is better than the athlete of yesteryear. And I'm not here to argue that, but you can't blame the athletes of yesteryear for that sort of thing with the technology and just we all know how much sports have changed, say in the last even 50 years. Just all of the tech, everything that's at the disposal of these players today, the weight training, the technology, the video, just all of this stuff that's at the disposal of these modern day hitters, which is literally everything, modern medicine, for example. And maybe too. And we learned in the 90s what modern medicine brought those hitters. But seriously though, these guys, and in particular, this guy does not get enough credit for how great of a player he was. He was a legend in Minnesota, and he was a dang good player in California. And for both teams he played for, his number is retired. I'm talking about Rod Carew. Rod Carew played from 1967 to 1985, and that was the span of Rod Carew's career. Like I said, 1967 to 85. He was an all-star from 1967 to 1984. He began his career with 18 consecutive All-Star games. That's just incredible. I'm curious. That'll never happen again. I don't know. I don't know about Mike Trout if he made an All-Star game his first season, but I can't imagine that there's many guys that have ever done that. And we know that at a certain point, dating way back, there wasn't All-Star games. Like Babe Ruth, I just found this out. Babe Ruth was like a 1 or 2 time All-Star because the All-Star game wasn't invented yet. So some guys will definitely not get the ability to even have that sort of accolade. But for a guy like Rod Carew, when there was certainly an All-Star game, and at one point I believe there was 2 All-Star games in a season. That's how Willie Mays ended up playing multiple All-Star games in a given season. But Rod Carew, 18 consecutive All-Star games to begin a career. He was an All-Star and Rookie of the Year in 1967 with 150 hits while batting .292 with an OPS plus of 113, which in my opinion, that's very good to be batting above league average for a rookie in OPS plus. I mean, it's not remarkable 113, but as a rookie, that's really good. Really good. Won his first batting title in the American League when he hit .332, collecting 30 doubles and actually stole 19 bases in just his third season in 1969. He finished 10th in the AL MVP voting. And that year he had an OPS of 853 with an OPS plus of 134. So you're already seeing in just 2 short years, his OPS plus skyrocketed to 134. And his OPS of 853 was actually up 100 points from his rookie season. So now that we've got the 60s out of the way, now that we're into the 70s, from his third season onward, well, I guess this does include the 1969 season, but from his third season onward, from 1969 through 1983, Carew hit well over 300 in each of those 15 seasons. That means that Rod Carew had 15 straight seasons of batting over 300. And like I said, it did start in 1969 all the way through 1983. This guy hit well over, I think the lowest he ever hit was like 305 or 307. But then even then it's exponential to his next. I mean, this guy tore the cover off the ball, especially compared to modern day statistics where guys, they substitute power for average. I can tell you right now, these guys were not doing that. And And not that Rod Carew didn't have power, like he had a little bit of pop, but his main concern was hitting the ball, something that today's players seem to be lacking. So you get to the 1970s. In 1971, Carew hit 307 with 10 triples, but this could be considered a down year for him with an OPS of 736, which that was lower than his rookie year OPS. 736 is like, for Rod Carew standards, when your OPS 1971, he's been in the league 4 years. When his OPS is worse than his rookie years, that's definitely not a good start. Or definitely not a good thing. Definitely not a good start to the decade for Rod Carew, but he made up for it. He rebounded immediately in 1972 to put together an all-around season at the plate, winning his second batting title with a 318 average, improving slowly but surely on the base paths, where he would end up exploding in years after. Cut down on his strikeouts, and you could just sort of tell that Carew was building towards like a real breakout. And this is a guy that's already won 2 AL batting titles. But if you just go and you look at his statistics, you could really see it building, his game coming together. Like I said, the way he was starting to get better on the base paths, and the way that he was cutting down strikeouts, he was walking more. His approach at the plate was changing, and I would definitely obviously argue for the better, and it proves that. Up to this point, however, and this was something that I think potentially kept him from breaking out even sooner. And again, with 2 batting titles, he's already broken out, you would think, but just wait. Up to this point, Carew missed a bare minimum of 15 games and often many more in each of his first 6 seasons, including missing 20 in his rebound 1972 season. Carew would play at least 150 games for the first time ever eventually in 1974, and for 4 of the next 6 seasons following that rebound in 1972, he would play over 150 games. So moving forward, his inability to stay on the field became a non-fact. He gained the ability to stay on the field. For 4 of the next 6 seasons, Carew was able to stay on the field and play. For the next 6 seasons, he was able to play at least 150 games. So that was probably, when you're really studying his numbers, that was the thing that stuck out, that again really built towards this, what would be his breakout in the mid 70s. So from 1973 to 1978, Rod Carew, there's no doubting it, Rod Carew was one of, if not arguably the best hitter in the American League, possibly in Major League Baseball. Now, there was, the 70s, there's a lot of great hitters in that time. I know that. But you look at these numbers are historic, okay? So over a 6-year period from 1973 to 1978, Carew won 5 of a possible 6 American League batting titles, hitting 331 in 156 games, the only year he didn't win it. Wow. He hit 331 in 156 games. That's the year he doesn't win the batting title. And so from 73 to 78, Rod Carew is absolutely, positively on fire. You can consider this era to be his prime. There's very few, I shouldn't say there's very few, but for a lot of times it's hard to determine what a guy's prime is. And for Rod Carew, there's no doubting that his prime, looking back on it, 73 to 78, Carew finishes 4th, 7th, 9th, 5th, 1st, and 11th in AL MVP voting. And from 73 to 78, he peaks in 77, okay? Carew won MVP in 77 after batting 388 with 239 hits, which is like 8th most ever for a season, 16 triples, 128 runs scored, with a near 450 on base percentage at 449, and an OPS of over 1,000, and an OPS plus of 178. An OPS plus of 178 for 1977 Rod Carew. All of those numbers led the league. Carew also stole 23 bases and drove in 100 runs. Simply put, 1977 for Rod Carew in the Minnesota Twins uniform is one of the greatest seasons at the plate in the history of baseball. I am confident in telling you this. I I've looked at a lot of back to baseball cards over my years, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that in a day and age where we've had 6 no hitters before June, which is an MLB record, that I can go back and lose myself. And a guy like Rod Carew spending 1977 batting 388 with an OPS plus of 178, 16 triples, a 450 on base percentage, stole 23 bases, drove in 100 runs. Wow. Rod Carew, like, hats off. Like, honestly, like, it's a tip of the caps year 1977. That when you've got some obscure guys having won the MVP, this is not an obscure MVP win. Just because he only won it once, don't be mistaken. Don't think that Rod Carew winning the MVP was an obscurity or that he was a one-hit wonder. Rod Carew was one of the dominant players of his era, one of the great hitters possibly of all time. And this stretch from 73 to 78 is truly remarkable. And that's where I actually sort of started trimming down my notes, because I was going to go through like all of his stats, right? And this is where I'm imploring you guys, my audience, please go out of your way to check out Rod Carew's Baseball Reference, or however you look at old stats, fan graphs, or whatever you use. Just go look at Rod Carew stats. It's truly, truly something to behold. For a baseball fan, and for all of us who've been lacking premier hitting at the major league level, so it seems, Rod Carew he's remarkable. He's a remarkable player. And after another impressive year, 1978, not quite as impressive as 1977, because no, it's hard to ever match those numbers. It's like his Illmatic. 1977 is Rod Carew's Illmatic. He's not topping it. So after another impressive 1978, Carew spent his twilight years with the California Angels. And while he wasn't as dominant a player as he was on the Minnesota Twins, he was still an all-star every year until his final year in the league. And he left such an impression with the organization that after retiring in 1985, this is crazy. This is probably the craziest thing I found out. The California Angels retired Rod Carew's number immediately in 1986. And in fact, they retired his number before the Minnesota Twins had a chance to retire his number. That's how much respect the California Angels put on Rod Carew's name. And so the Twins did retire his number the following year, 1987. But the fact that the Angels beat the Twins to the punch in retiring the Twins' greatest, arguably the Twins' best player ever. I know the Twins have had Harmon Killebrew, Joe Mauer. They've had some really great players, but for being one of their greatest ever, no doubt about it, you can't let another organization retire his jersey first. It's just weak look on the Minnesota Twins' part, but in the 90s, actually, Rod Carew was hired in 1991 to become the Angels hitting coach. Again, the Angels just loved this guy. He must have just had such an impact on their clubhouse, on their locker room. They loved this guy. They retired his number immediately. He was a good player, but he wasn't great for them. And then they hire him on as their hitting coach in the early 90s. And actually, Rod Carew is credited with developing the swings of guys like Garrett Anderson, Jim Edmonds, guys that would become, excuse me, and I believe Edmonds was gone at this point, but Garrett Anderson was a key cog in the lineup that won the Angels their only ever World Series. Garrett Anderson was a huge part of that, and as a result, so was Rod Carew. So Rod Carew's impact on baseball is stretched far beyond his playing days. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a member of the 3,000 hit club. And like I said, go look him up. This guy is truly, he's a special player in the history of the game. I would say, with my remaining time with you guys today, working on getting here right at noon, a couple minutes late today and yesterday, but we're doing pretty good on that front. Nailed the intro in the beginning, if you noticed. It's about freaking time. And there is one article I want you guys to go check out. I teased it a couple days ago, and actually my friend Dylan texted me about it and was wondering what happened to that. I don't think I'm going to do a full video on it. or like a full segment on it, because the way the show's moving, the way that I'm prepping for the show, I'm not so sure that this is something that I'm going to be able to get done like that. I would actually much prefer you guys just go read. His name is Rick Soisson. Soisson. It was posted 1 month ago to Fansided. It's called calltothepen.com. Maybe I'll leave the link to the article on the Facebook page, which again, if you haven't already, please go on Facebook at Authority Videocast, give it a like. We're trying to do some world building here on the channel. And yeah, if not, like Google Abdul Herrera Fansided, the author. He's actually written about him a couple times, but the title of the article is "The Odubel Herrera Issue Continues for the Phillies," 1 month ago, by Rick Soisson. And I'm so sorry that I'm butchering the pronunciation of your name, but go check out that article. It's super interesting. Odubel Herrera basically was out of baseball for the past 2 years after a domestic violence incident that's obviously horrific. And so now Odubel Herrera is back and he's pretty decent. Like, he's been performing. And so I'm not like making any judgments about it. It's not like a Matt Bush thing where, we found out Matt Bush is a real character. I'm not saying one thing or the other about Odubel Herrera. I just find it super interesting that this guy's been out of baseball for 2 years. And goes without saying, domestic abuse, domestic violence is a terrible thing. There needs to be even more awareness. I think that we did a great job during like the Ray Rice era of like making it a big thing, but it's still a thing. There's still like family and domestic violence everywhere, and we should never stop making it a point to, there needs to be awareness about it. So just an interesting article. Go and read it. Thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, do what you do, and we'll catch you on the next one.